Hello, friends. Dan also here, making history. And I have a little bit of an announcement that I wasn't expecting I was going to need to make, but I have just been retrenched. Retrenchment is a term at my university that describes a situation in which tenure track or tenured faculty are let go, are eliminated because their positions have been eliminated. I wasn't quite tenured, missed it by that much. I was going up for tenure this fall, so I guess that's a tenure and promotion document I won't have to bother writing. Um, Plenty of tenured people are actually losing their jobs too. As I understand it, in addition to myself and four other people who had already been retrenched last spring, 27 more people have been cut. That is going to leave a faculty number of 141 instructors at Bemidji State University. This university is in serious financial trouble. Our enrollment was down significantly before COVID. Our recruitment efforts were really pretty much crap for the better part of the last decade. The previous president was more or less useless, and her cabinet was filled with people who really had no business running departments. And I'm not just saying this by way of sour grapes. The chief financial officer retired just after the president did, and when she left, her replacement discovered within the first week that the deficit that the campus was facing wasn't actually $9 million, but was $11 million. Almost what someone might consider criminal negligence. A bunch of other people responsible for this debacle are still working as administrators at BSU, still on the new president's cabinet, still collecting their six-figure salaries. I suppose it's going to take me a couple of days to get over the initial shock of this and decide what my next step is going to be. As I may have mentioned before, at the end of last semester, I received a fairly substantial grant to explore the possibility of Bemidji State offering zero textbook cost bachelor's degrees, what they call Z degrees. I was planning on recruiting faculty to convert their courses and develop zero textbook cost paths through their majors. And then I was going to write up the follow-up application for a $100,000 grant to implement that program next year. But I will be working at BSU next year. Maybe somebody else will pick that up and run with it. I would put the odds at 100 to 1. But if we're laying bets, what are the actual odds that BSU will exist long enough to implement a Z degree program? My wife, Steph, has already begun sending me job descriptions from places like Indeed. The first one that she sent was for a global environmental history tenure track position at the University of Vermont in Burlington. And that's a position that I would be interested in and I would be qualified for. Although, as you can tell by the gray hair, I am probably not their dream candidate. Maybe I should go out to the world with a message that I'm planning on working 10 to 15 years. So that is the career context in which they ought to consider me. But I'll think about that when I update my CV and my LinkedIn page. I have some friends in other Minnesota state institutions and also at the system office, so maybe there will be something there at one of the campuses or at the system office for me to do as well. Maybe related to the open educational resources and the Z degree program. I also have to admit that I have been sort of considering the possibility that this might happen for the last few days, for about the last week. I had lunch with my dean last week, and things seemed pretty grim. Part of the impetus, I guess I should admit, for me beginning to spend more time uploading content to my Substack has been the idea that I might not be teaching at a university soon. And I am very interested in and committed to history and discussing history and teaching history. So I have to think through how I might do that in the future. I'm not entirely sure whether I was secretly hoping that improving my Substack footprint would enable me to entice another institution that might want to hire me, or whether I was secretly hoping that I might be able to earn a living writing for an online audience, or maybe even teaching classes online to students who aren't enrolled in a history major and just want to hear about the types of things that I study and that I research and that I cover in my courses. And I should also admit that I have been thinking for a long while now that it would make sense for me sometime soon to put the courses that I teach at the university onto the web and actually offer them in some form to regular people anywhere who want to learn a little bit more about this material and maybe want to study with me. And I guess that time is now. Over the next couple of weeks, in addition to getting my content ready for the start of classes at BSU for my students this fall, I think I will also get them ready for the world and begin offering them online. This is going to take some thought about exactly how and what content I use and how I format it and present it. But I guess I'll get right on that first thing today after I'm done making this video. One last thing, since now I'm facing a countdown to unemployment, and that countdown actually is 280 days. There are 28 days left in August, and then in September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, and 10 days in May until the end of the spring semester. So 280 days in all. And I will, I think, put a countdown in the corner of the screen when I make these videos so that I am reminded and everybody else is reminded what's going on here. But since I am facing this countdown to unemployment, I would encourage everyone who is getting some value or some enjoyment out of the stuff that I've been posting on YouTube and Substack to please subscribe. If you're already a paid subscriber, thank you very much. If you've been on the fence, please consider jumping. Although I'm not getting rich working at BSU, in reality, I earn about the same as the average high school teacher. That is all going to be coming to an end soon, in 280 days. So if I could offset some of that lost income from subscriptions, that would definitely greatly increase the options that I could consider. So I'm always telling my students, and I even tell my children, that the world is interested in people's actual experiences, and that when people sort of document their experiences and let the world see kind of what's going on in their lives, that can develop audiences. So I am going to document this process, this experience I am going through of being retrenched and working my final year at Bemidji State University. I have some thoughts about that. Again, I will probably get over the initial shock and the sour grapes, but some of my initial thoughts are that the university is getting rid of a lot of the people who actually do a lot of stuff, who do a lot of the innovation, who create all of the new courses, who work on initiatives like the ones that I have, the Equity Certificate Program, OER textbooks, and the Z degrees. This is going to end. And the people that they are going to be left with are not us, right? In a big way, it is the union's fault. The system and tenure itself actually protects the oldest and the most senior faculty. But these also, in many cases, not all, but many cases, tend to be the most resistant to change and the least innovative and energetic. It's also the administration's fault, as I already mentioned. I have been, for the last several years, a faculty volunteer member of a strategic enrollment management plan steering committee and a couple of the additional committees that reported up to the steering committee. After several years, I dropped out. And one of the reasons for that was last year, the steering committee spent the entire year, literally, filling out a 5-page spreadsheet of the great things that we could all do to improve enrollment. Maybe they should have spent a little less time brainstorming and a bit more time and effort actually doing shit. I'll talk more about each of these issues, and hopefully from a slightly calmer position as I move forward. I'm going to add a new tab to my Substack header called Retrenched, and it will document my journey for the next 280 days. So if you're interested in seeing that process and seeing what I come up with and seeing where this all leads me. Stay tuned and hang on. I imagine it's going to be a somewhat bumpy, wild ride. Thanks. See you soon.